This next question comes from a viewer named Mitzi. And Mitzi says, I'd like to know, and it hasn't been discussed as far as I've seen yet, about what psychedelic substances are used before these videos are filmed. I'm sure that's part of being able to do what you say you do. I mean, absolutely no disrespect, and I'm just genuinely curious.
I feel that to be true. We don't use drugs of any sort.
That's true.
Drugs are extremely dangerous, especially in the current era of astral turbulence and the inundation of dead people everywhere. Extremely, extremely dangerous. We strongly advise no use of drugs, no use, including alcohol. Just don't do it. It isn't worth it. And we understand that this is an extremely unpopular stance.
That's true.
What we have instead is years of training in a very rigorous program that is not easy to participate in. It requires changing your life pretty much in every way, letting go of pretty much everything that you think is important to you, because things of lesser value stand in the way of things of greater value.
That's true.
And in this unfortunate era in which humans are destroying the planet and all the divine presences are trying to get humanity to stop destroying the planet, really, in order to maintain connection with the divine, we've got to let go of connection with society, because society wants to stay crazy.
That's true.
They don't want to change. People don't want to change. They don't want to change. So you have to choose. Who do you want to stand with? You have to choose. Who do you stand with? Years ago they said, what side of the table are you going to sit on? Are you going to sit on the side with the angels and with divine presences? You're going to sit on the side of the table with God? Or are you going to sit on the side of everything else? All of the rest of humanity. So we decided to give up our lives instead of giving up connection with the divine. And we know that there are lots of dead people who are praying, praying, on those who are praying, praying. And we think it's unfortunate, reprehensible, revolting, lots of words. We think it's wrong.
That's true.
And any voice who's telling you there's an easy way out of this mess, when quite obviously that isn't true, that is not a voice to listen to. That's a voice who's lying to you about the most important aspects of your life. So what we do is not drugs. What we do is give up things that society tells us matters, like friends and family. So what we do instead of drugs is give up things that society says are fine. We give up the chocolate-covered goji berries. We give up going to Club Med, which, I don't know if you've ever been to Club Med, but it's very nice.
That's true.
But we don't do those things anymore.
No,
we've given up plane flights because they're too environmentally destructive.
That's true.
And so many things. We've given up living in ways that harm the planet to the best of our abilities, and obviously we've still got a long way to go, but we're trying. Does this answer the question?
The next question comes from a viewer named Heather. And Heather says, we know the ending days are near. Will we see it?
Whoosh. That just goes up whoosh.
Whoosh.
There are many voices speaking, and they're talking about what they themselves saw. It's like a chorus of voices who are saying basically, look, it's already happening. It's already there for those who have eyes to see. And they're talking about, for example, Aleppo, which if you look at the pictures of Aleppo, which is a Syrian city, if you look at the pictures of Aleppo 10 years ago, it looks just like any normal place.
That's true.
Of Western civilization, and now it's a bombed out nightmare.
That's true.
And Yemen, looks much the same. We don't believe there's even an operating hospital in Yemen.
That's true.
So we are seeing it. It's happening now. If you look at Myanmar, it's happening now. It is happening now. Now, if you mean, will you see it in your neighborhood? Possibly, probably. Depends on a lot of different things. But it's looking like humanity is trying to destroy civilization as quickly as possible.
That's true.
So if that's what we're going for, it's looking good that it'll happen in our lifetimes. Does this answer the question?
The next questions come from a viewer named Benaya. What do the gods say about white privilege? Do they think migrants should stay where they are because they have a smaller carbon footprint in their home country? Isn't the U.S. debt contributing to global warming?
Who's going to answer this question, friends? Somebody is stepping up to the microphone who seems to be kind of like a staff assistant
to
the divine presences. Somebody who works in analytics or statistics or something like that. And they're telling him to say his part first. And he's saying the bit about U.S. debt. How is it worded?
Isn't the U.S. debt contributing to global warming?
And there's this gentleman presence upstairs, a statistician to the gods, is saying, okay, let's detangle this because you're combining financial terms and scientific terms.
That's true.
And U.S. debt is definitely contributing to global financial instability.
That's what he's saying.
And that the U.S. has responsibility for that and is making some horrendous choices as a collective.
That's true.
And is incurring bad karma as an outcome of the financial choices that are being made that are so horrific. And that U.S. actions are leading the parade on climate change, and so the U.S. is also incurring bad karma from a scientific standpoint as well.
That's true.
Somebody is stepping up to talk about white privilege.
Yes, I hear that other presence.
And they're talking about responsibility and lives that have been given much, having also accepted the responsibility for handling those resources in the way in which God intended. And this does not mean that those resources are here for that person or for their family and friends.
That's true.
That's never the case. The resources have been consolidated in the hopes that these people will listen to their guardian angels and the higher powers and use those funds to solve the enormous problems of our times. That's what's supposed to happen, and instead other things are happening.
That's true.
A variety of other things are happening, but we see almost none of that happening. It's not really occurring. So this idea of concentration of resources is being proven to be an ineffective strategy, and the divine presences have been slow to let go of it because it would be so great if they only needed to get through to Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg.
That's true.
And just to pick two
people with a lot of wealth and resources.
Two people who, in the Sacred Vows to Spirit, promised that they would be the voice of Spirit in the world world, and that they could be trusted with that big pool of money, and they would use the big pool of money to solve the enormous problems of our times. But not to single them out,
That's
please,
true.
please don't do that. But they're good examples of people who have not done anything remotely like that. They've headed in the opposite direction, doing bad things, not good things, unfortunately. And again, not to single them out. Please don't single them out in your thinking. So karmically, this is a disaster for the individuals involved.
That's
because they're never going to have any resources. Again, it's going to be so many lifetimes before they're anything more than an earthworm or slime mold, because they've proven they can't be trusted with resources at all. And there's so many people in line behind them saying the same thing that they said, is you can trust me, I'll do the work for you.
That's right.
So they're just going to have to go to the end of the line and start again.
That's true.
And the line is really long. So white privilege is a karmic disaster.
That's true.
For all who are not using every penny as if they are stewards for the Most High.
That's
and
true.
The Most High has charged them with righting the great wrongs that are occurring.
That's true.
And if that's how they're treating it, and we know of nobody, not even the Vatican, the Pope, we don't know of anybody who's treating the resources that way.
That's true.
Unless they're treating the resources that way, it's an extreme bad karma scheme for them. And there was some conversation about the immigration issues, and we really think
That's
that
true.
immigration, that borders are an artificial construct.
That's true.
And that the real issue is not between humans and humans. The real issue is between humans and the rest of life on Earth.
That's true.
And obviously, people who want to immigrate are doing so for a vast variety of reasons, and every person is unique, and every situation is unique, and generalizations are extremely difficult to make. But in this era of planetary destruction, these things have all been predicted for thousands of years.
That's true.
Is that these waves of immigration would begin, and they have begun. We have begun to enter the end times, which have been predicted for really a long time.
That's true.
This is part of the prediction. And for those who are being stingy, we must learn to share. We must learn to share. Greediness is wrong, and stinginess is wrong, and selfishness is wrong. And be really, really, really careful who you turn your back on, because you're going to be born into that situation yourself next time. By karmic law. That's how the system works. And if you're standing at the border blocking immigration, you're going to be at the border clamoring to get in.
That's true.
Next go round. And however many people you participated in blocking, that's how many times you yourself will be blocked, and that's how the system works.
That's true.
I'm sorry. I know this isn't convenient information for many people. I'm sorry. We've got to learn to share. This is what the money is here for. The U.S., apparently some people like to pontificate about being the wealthiest country on earth, and that means we bear the greatest responsibility, and therefore we must be attempting to accept the immigrant population, educate them on contraception, educate them on birth control, get the consensus that we've all got to stop having kids, all of us.
That's true.
Until the population has gotten back down into the range that works, which is between 500 million and 2 billion. Obviously, we've got quite a ways to go. Does this answer the question? Somebody says that's going to have to be it for now on that question, because that's a question that has layer upon layer upon layer upon layer, and if you keep unfolding it, you can talk about every aspect of life.
That's true.
And we have many other questions. So that's where we'll pause on this question for now. And thank you for an important topic.